So we're going to be meeting in a downward dog. When you get there, feel free to find static, stillness, or walking out through your feet. Nice short focus today. We're going to be getting into our warrior one with our humble warrior. So start to walk the big toes together to touch. Inhale your right leg up, but today keep your hips square. Kneecap facing the mat, flex the right foot, pushing the mat firmly away from you and hollow out your belly. You're here for just a couple of breaths, lengthening out through the front of the chest. Coming into that warrior one, so stepping that foot in between the palms, dropping the back heel. Feet are just a little bit more than a heel-to-heel alignment, but not entirely hips width. So find something in the middle ground. Ground down through that right knee, and then slowly bring yourself to an upright position. Palms could stay planted on the hips for now, as you want to try to pull that right hip back, and do your best to keep your hips square as much as you can toward the top of the mat. Find a little bit more depth in through the right knee, tucking your tailbone, slight squeeze through that glute, and then lifting up through the chest. Reaching the arms up toward the ceiling, and then just find that focus point out in front of you as we just focus on finding a hold. So our holds are going to vary between a minute, maybe even a minute and a half to 2. So you're finding that meditative gaze, that still point. You're breathing in and out of the nose. You're more than halfway through. Keep a micro bend into that right knee, still trekking it toward the pinky toe. And try to keep more weight onto the outstep of the left foot. The weight is still equally distributed from right to left foot. Okay, 3 more breaths. So dragging out each posture change, you're going to slowly start to interlace the fingers behind the back, lifting that bind up and off of the glutes, and then holding here with a lifted chest palate. You've got about 3 more breaths before we add on and we get into that humble warrior. So we want to try to keep the lower half of the body as is. And you're going to be moving from the crease of the hips. Upper body hinges forward. You can rest the chest on top of the right thigh, or just allow that chest to lean over toward the left. And when you're comfortable, take that right armpit, the shoulder, near the right kneecap. Your eyes could stay looking straight down to the mat if this is enough. Continue to reach the interlaced fingers up toward the ceiling. And be mindful that you're not kicking the right glute back or out. Okay, you want to pull it in on itself, so it's staying as though the hips are square, like you did in Warrior 1. You could look past the inner thighs if you'd like. Otherwise, you're just finding that hold here for 3 more breaths. Good. Slowly plant the palms just beside on either side of the right foot. Pivot up on that back toe, high plank, and then come into either a vinyasa or a down dog direct. Shaking out the head, walking out your feet, pulsing the chest toward the thigh bones. Taking about 2 more breaths before walking the big toes together to touch. Inhale your left leg now up toward the ceiling. Keep that internal rotation. You're here for 10. Flex the left foot, Really push the mat away from you. Squeeze the glutes so you still find height and you're still challenging yourself. Allow the belly to hollow, allow the ribs to expand and fan out. And let's get ourselves ready for that warrior one. Heels can either be aligned or they could be at hips width, but try to find something in between. Slowly take the palms onto your thigh as you walk yourself into an upright position, palms to the hips. Work on pulsing the left hip back so the hips are square to the top of the mat. Your belly is engaged. When you do that slight tuck, the right glute will really fire up. And then taking the arms up toward the ceiling. Find that depth again in through the left knee, and then find that still point. You're breathing in and out of the nose. Keeping that focal gaze, that point that you can meditate, stare at from a state of meditation. And then again, just continue to enjoy that depth. Keep the weight onto the outstep of the right foot. Body is still center. You could still see that left big toe as the kneecap is favoring the pinky toe. Okay, about 3 more breaths. Dragging out the postures, you're going to reach the arms back, interlace the fingers, the opposite grip, and then just hold this posture where the palms are lifting up and off of the glutes, slight arc to the spine, and again depth into the left knee. Slowly begin to hinge from the crease of the hips. Lower body stays put. Upper body folds forward. Rounding out through the spine. You can keep that body somewhat resting on top of the left thigh. Try to take the shoulder, armpit area near the kneecap. And with intention, reach the interlaced fingers up to the ceiling. Your eyes are either looking to the mat or just past the right heel. You're here for about 5. And then slowly start to unbind, plant the palms. Pivot up on that back toe so you can lift up through the heel. High plank, either vinyasa. If you need a child's pose, or coming into that downward dog. Holding here until your next add-on. Good idea to grab some water or just continue to pulse through your body so you can get that relaxation at the same time that you're stretching and strengthening the muscles.